Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second part of our five-part review of Castlevania Season 4. We're Dweeb Culture. This is Dweeb Reviews. I'm Mitch, joined today again by Chris. Hey, Chris.
What's up, guys?
And, you know, it's really funny. um, we ended the last episode just yesterday with a lot of questions about some of our favorite characters. And in these two episodes, the episode 3, Walk Away, and episode 4, You Must Sacrifice, it almost immediately addresses the questions that we were most concerned about. You know, you and I are here talking like, oh man, we didn't see much of Alucard. We didn't see Isaac at
Yeah.
all. I wonder what happened to that Saint Germain guy. And then they bring all of them in, and that's most of the focus. Now, you and I both were kind of the mindset of there was some cool action scenes in the first two episodes, but the story didn't really get moved forward and didn't cover a ton of what we wanted to see. It does seem that it's been maybe it sounds like maybe 6 to 8 weeks since season 3 finished, because they did do like reflection again on just 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. They did a
Yes.
little bit of that in these two episodes. So we're kind of getting a timeline here, and I would say my complaints from the first two episodes do not carry into these two. Things are picking
No, not
up.
at all.
I think
Picking up fast too.
yes, and you said it right before we began, but you're absolutely right. I finished episode 4 and I was like, well, should we do episode 5? And I'm like, no, 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 we'll
Yeah.
wait. It was hard to stop though. Now it's
Yeah.
rolling. But we're almost halfway through the season now, and there's still been little forward movement. So I'm expecting that these next episodes are going to also stay at a fast pace.
Yeah, I think it's just going to snowball from here. I like these two episodes because they were filler in all the questions we literally just had, and they answered some questions that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. Action scenes were insane, absolutely insane.
Very cool. And there's a couple in particular that I want to talk about. But the main focus of this first episode 3, Walk Away, they almost immediately jump into one of my favorite characters. I think he's one of your favorite characters too, which is Isaac and what he's
Yes.
doing. He's still in the city that we kind of concluded the last season in. He still has the statue of the slain wizard in the wizard's lab or whatever it was, but you kind of see him using the creatures of the night in a way that I mean, the show even immediately addresses they were not intended for. And we do see kind of that intelligent bug one again that they
Yeah.
introduced at the end of last
Yeah,
season.
I didn't know they can I don't remember them communicating, but I didn't know that they communicated that well
Hmm.
either. I
And
think the really cool thing was the berries. That
yes,
was a really cool thing.
that was a very cool scene where you see that Isaac has forged these creatures from the corpses of the dead, and while the creatures of the night, I believe they're called, I've called them shadow creatures and all this other stuff now, either essentially, evil spirits or demons, but the creatures of the night, it shows that while they also believe that their design is only to destroy, being that they are, creatures of hell, it shows that, well, one, they don't really have to eat meat and blood. It sounds like they can also eat berries. It's not going to be poisonous to them. And Isaac is challenging what his role as a forge master means. He's challenging kind of his uh, old goals of vengeance, especially now that he slayed that wizard. I believe that was one of the former slave masters he had, right? Isn't
Yes,
that what the
yeah.
story of it was? And he's kind of finding a new path. Even though it was a relatively short amount of time that we spent with Isaac, I love this character. I mean, he was a fanatic follower of Dracula in the beginning, which all kind of stemmed from his treatment as a slave, and now it showed with that the brief communication between him and the vampire Varney, who you hit it on the head. It's definitely fulfilling the role of like comic relief, and it's pretty much it right now.
Yeah, yeah, right now.
um, but with that scene, it shows that maybe his allegiances to Dracula are not as strong as they once were, and he's kind of found himself a new path. Now, remember, he's kind of like a very odd philosophical figure within the show, because he's a Muslim and he's devout to God, but he raises creatures from hell, and he has his own like specific ideologies about why he's doing what he's doing. And now he's kind of broken uh, from his former theology and has come up with a kind of new philosophy on how to use these creatures of the night. And he sees it as a way of giving like souls in hell a second chance at life for redemption. And he kind of even mentions like God's will for him as a forge master. So I'm not sure. Is this the beginning of him becoming a more hero character? Or is he going to stay as a villain as he kind of was in the past 3 seasons? But I thought they did some really interesting character development with him in a relatively short amount of time, and he's one of my favorite characters. So I was happy to see him.
Yeah, well, dude, it was all in that little dialogue he had with one of the creatures of the night. The whole berries scene is super important to his character development, because as you could tell, like the berries were memories. All he kept saying was the memories of the berries. So I think he's trying to create those creatures and make them have that different path, kind of like how he has, because he was a loyalist to Dracula to a fault.
Yeah,
man. He had that undying, undeniable loyalty. Right.
Well, he ended up being the last follower of Dracula. After all the other vampires had abandoned him or died, he was the last loyal follower. And remember, Dracula saved him by throwing him through that portal. He did not want Dracula did not want Isaac to die with him when Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard stormed the castle. He's the one that sent him away and then fought them and ultimately lost and died. So you kind of get the impression that even though Dracula had hated humans, his essentially his favorite person was Isaac.
Yeah. Yes.
And Isaac was his number one man.
He saw Isaac as another son.
Yeah,
Isaac,
I think so.
And you know what, dude? Isaac just had that loyalty, dude. You can't buy that. So knowing that he's kind of changed and switched gears in what he's doing, and you do see like when he says, why are we, when the insect, I'm gonna call him the insect creature of the night, just says like, why are we doing this? Why are we burying these bodies? Like, our job's to kill, plunge, spoil, all that stuff. And he's like, listen, they were going to go rotten. They were going to have disease, and they didn't deserve to be killed that way. So we are giving them a proper burial. Like, that's different trains of thought.
Yeah, he even says to the statue of the wizard, he says that he resurrected the bodies of the dead that he could, and the ones that were too rotten he buried. So you kind of get this idea from him now, and he actually says this in a very strong and forward tone when he has that conversation with the intelligent creature of the night. He says, no, your role's not to destroy, it's to do what your forge master wills. I'm your forge master, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to break the mold of what I am as a forge master and of what you are as a child of the night. And he actually has his minions rebuilding the city that was destroyed, not by him. It was destroyed by the wizard, right? And the city that was destroyed, he's rebuilding with intent of leaving it intact to be inhabited by humans in the future. That's a very different thought process than just a season ago or 2 seasons ago when he was helping Dracula exterminate all humans. With understanding, because if you remember the conversation between him and Hector in season 2, understanding that that's going to include him at some point too.
Yes. Yeah. Him and Hector. But the first scene you get in season 3, in episode 3, was the night creature of the night with the doll. Right, like talking to the doll and stuff like that. And I was like, that's super weird. Like, it's super unusual. So I kind of want to see if they're going to add him as like a major character, kind of like the right hand to Isaac. But
I hope so.
All we saw from Isaac, that was it. That's all we saw from Isaac that entire episode. And that filled in a lot.
Yes.
It really, really did.
And then the episode carries on to, it shows a little bit of Trevor and Sypha, but really these 2 episodes cover the story of the other characters that the first 2 didn't cover. So the first 2 episodes are very heavy Trevor, Sypha, as we talked about. Really, the only progression that we get in episodes 3 and 4 is Trevor and Sypha are now with the underground court or the underground guard,
Mm-hmm.
In which, by the way, I need to make a correction from just the episode that we posted today. I thought the underground guard was called Dynasty from my notes, and I'm understanding now I mixed it up. Greta of Dynasty and the city of Dynasty is where Alucard um, goes and who he meets and helps in this next episode. But I mixed up the terminology when I looked up the names of the characters. My bad. So it's the underground guard, and we get to see the personalities of or really the personality of Trevor has rubbed off on Sypha quite a bit, because while they were just saved by this underground guard during this ambush, they're not sworn to protect them or help them with their mission, and don't really seem to be embracing that just yet. They kind of have a brief conversation, like, yeah, we'll see. We got some stuff that we have to do first. And even the leader of the guard, or the character with the knives that was introduced, I don't remember her name, but she's even a little taken back that that they're not agreeing to help her just yet.
Yeah,
And
well, that's because they've been going around helping villages nonstop.
yes, yeah.
But you kind of see it when he goes into the bedroom and he's like, "Take a seat." He's like, "I'm sick of being on the back end. I'm sick of always being behind and fighting somebody else's agendas. If I'm gonna die, I want it to be on something I know about." And that's just kind of frustration. You can kind of see the frustration in Trevor from all that. So
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool to see, like, all right, dude, he's now kind of taking control. Because, like we said in the last one, dude, they've been playing catch up this entire time.
Mm-hmm.
All they're doing is playing catch up. They're getting to the village, well, it's either been destroyed or being destroyed, and their job is to try to stop it from happening. Dude, they're a band-aid on a stitch right now.
Yeah, and you know what? That's where their story for these two episodes ends. Because the remainder of episode 3 gets into the story of Striga and Marana deployed on Carmilla's missions to take over all of the country of Wallachia, it's called. And man, this is the action of the episode, because
dude, this is the action, I think, of both episodes.
Yeah, of all the episodes we've seen so far, this is my favorite action scene. We get the awesome scene of the vampire hunters attacking the vampire tents in daylight, because they've discovered what they actually are, and Striga deploying her day armor, all black suit looking of plate armor. Yeah, it is so cool, because one, she's massive, some Viking vampire creature, huge. We do get the character development between her and Marana, which I liked them in the last season too, and this season it kind of sees that they're the strings that tie them to Carmilla are kind of pulling apart, as they realize that what they want is not necessarily what Carmilla wants, which is really similar to another scene that we see in the last episode, where Carmilla explains to Lenore that she wants to take over the world, and she's not sure if it'll make her happy or not, but that's her goal. Here with Striga and Marana, they're seeing that there's never going to be an end to Carmilla's campaign against humans, and they don't necessarily want that. So now we have the character of Isaac, who may be a free agent, maybe even team up with the heroes, and potentially Striga and Marana being free agent characters as well. But let's get to that action scene. Brutal.
Tell me about the armor. Tell me it didn't remind you of Soul Calibur or Final Fantasy. That massive sword. She looked like Nightmare from Soul Calibur.
Exactly. So I got a lot of elements of an anime series called Berserk and Soul Calibur, and those are the two things I got a lot of elements of, because it was gory. She's 7 feet tall. She's wielding a sword like Cloud from Final Fantasy. It's freaking
it's
huge.
Just going through
people, horses in half.
You're watching, you're seeing intestines, stomachs fly out.
Yeah,
it's just demolishing people, and it was cutting through the horses, like you said, dude. It was just ridiculous. And you know what, dude? She did most of the damage by herself until she finally called for her.
Yeah, her soldiers were way late, and she had already decimated the enemy force for the most part. But this scene with the gore, with the action, gave me major Invincible vibes. And obviously we just reviewed
reviewed it, and I was thinking the same thing. But dude, what's crazy is, dude, the day armor, like them having day armor. It's like, dude,
they have to, right?
They already have enhanced abilities, right? They're immortal pretty much.
And full plate armor on top
in
of it. That's
full plate
crazy.
armor that can resist the UV rays of the sun, which is pretty much their biggest weakness.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's an unstoppable force.
Very cool.
That's juggernaut status in my book. Like, all right, dude, she's gonna be pretty tough to beat.
Yeah.
And but the conversation that Moron and Striga have about, listen, we're gonna be doing this war forever. This is a never-ending war. That's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be that never-ending war. I'm just sick and tired. I don't want to do this all day long for the rest of my life. And then we're never gonna see each other because we're gonna be in two separate entities and being two separate stations. So I think that's like going to be a turning point of when they realize, listen, either we're going to take her down or they're probably going to fight each other, because one of them's going to separate, and we both know which one it's going to be.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I had not given too much thought to them as characters this season, but
not until now.
Yeah, this scene makes me really interested in seeing where they progress further from here. So we get through that scene. It ends with Carmilla giving them a call once again through the mirrors, right? Once more. Yeah, so it does seem like this is the major form of communication amongst vampires.
It's like that black magic walkie-talkie right there. That's exactly what it is.
And she makes the announcement that Hector's hammer's ready. So it does look like
brings him back to the castle.
He did perfect the hammer. He can make creatures of the night again. But we're seeing with Isaac that ultimately, even if he builds Carmilla an army, the army is going to be loyal to him the same way that the army of the creatures of the night for Isaac are loyal to Isaac. So that kind of plays into our maybe he does a betrayal of his vampire captors again. We'll see.
I still think he's going to betray them. I still think that it's going to be like an Order 66 kind of Clone Wars thing, where they're just going to follow Hector because Hector is the Forge Master, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
And Isaac gave the foreshadowing. Listen, you do what the Forge Master tells you. All right?
And
Carmilla's not the Forge Master, so she might control the Forge Master, but she is not the Forge Master. So,
but if you remember, it's Lenore, I believe, that holds the power over the slave ring on Trevor's hand.
Yes.
So if she
controls over Hector, you mean?
Hector. I'm sorry, Hector.
Yeah, she controls Hector, but Hector can still control them.
Yes, but if there is a separation between Lenore and Carmilla because of Carmilla's world domination goals, then we can see how Hector maybe, might be a major weapon against Carmilla in what looks to be in a insurrection that is now beginning within vampire forces.
Yeah, so now we conclude episode 3 and we jump into episode 4,
where we see Alucard finally, and in a combat scene.
Man, he's my man.
He's cool. I would say
that sword's sick.
Yes, I would say that I still liked the Striga scene more as for action.
I cannot wait to see them fight each other.
Yeah.
They're going to. And
be
it's going to be, two different fighting styles. One's very brutish, one's very fencing finesse. And you could see that he amps up his energy when he sees the monster breaking through.
Yes.
And like taking the pitchfork away. He moves faster. The sword moves faster. It's like, oh, dude, that is sick.
And, something really cool about Alucard's style that I guess I didn't notice in the first 2 seasons was revealed in season 3 when he's teaching, I believe it's Sumi and Taka, the 2 Japanese vampire hunters that ultimately betray him. When he's teaching them, you see that his sword, it's not just a long sword. It's like a really long claymore. It's really long.
Well, it's a long rapier claymore, though.
Yeah, but he uses it like
size, but it's a rapier. Yeah. Because remember, he's so strong. But I like the 2 things. So I like that the horse is going to be a main character for him.
Yeah.
Right? That horse is now going to be in the rest of the season.
Yeah, probably.
He can't get rid of the horse. So that's going to be his companion. I like that he had the shield, the sword.
That was cool.
I liked his fighting style. But now we know we might have a love interest.
With Greta. Yeah.
Greta.
And, I think they gave just the perfect amount of her. She showed to be a very strong-willed character. Strong. And it was a great way to introduce Saint Germain, who we had been asking about from the previous
how ironic, right?
Dude,
how ironic.
We're all here like, well, yeah, but what about the other characters? And they answered it immediately in the next 2 episodes. So,
and it was really cool. This episode about him was fascinating.
And you and I had just talked about not remembering who's his partner, who's this person that he wanted to rescue, and it answers it completely here. So really cool. The infinity or the infinite
Infinite
corridor.
corridor.
And we had obviously seen it in the previous season when they were trying to open a portal to hell. He had hijacked it to get to it looks like a crazy abstract library dimension where he meets the alchemist, who kind of who kind of ribs him a little bit about his own failed pursuits into the art of alchemy, but ultimately serves as a character, as kind of a Yoda-ish guide to Saint Germain, essentially saying, hey, your friend already moved along, the woman that he's in love with, and the only way to find her is to get the only being that's capable of navigating the infinite corridor, aside from her, the alchemist, which is
Yeah,
Dracula.
Dracula.
So
So
he
how
has to,
ironic, right?
yes.
But dude, I did like that they brought it all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought the coolest scenes with him were him being introduced at every court with a different kind of titles,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah,
it
it's
kind of reminds me like
all
he's a con man.
yes,
He
exactly.
just keeps changing what it was, and you could just tell like at first he was young, he was all chipper about it, and he just gets weary and tired and just starts saying whatever.
I
But he does seek knowledge. He does seek
yes.
knowledge. That is the thing. And he was an alchemist. He just does not hold true to it.
And it would seem that even though the first couple episodes show that there's a lot of parties that are trying to revive Dracula, this seems to be the most credible threat to reviving Dracula. Saint Germain, now that we know a
Because
major
he's going to
character's
be so
goal,
determined because he's determined for love.
and he does seem to have access to the infinite corridor, which was the portal they were going to use to get to hell to free Dracula
Yeah.
in the last season. So it seems that he
And he's
may be the
partnering
one
up
to
with
revive.
vampires. He's
Yes.
partnering up. And he's like, just do what you're told. Just do what I'm telling you. If
Mm-hmm.
you want your boss back, pretty much, I'm going to get him back.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a double-edged sword. At first I thought, Trevor and Sypha were going to bring him back, and Alucard, they were going to bring him back. But now I feel like, because Alucard now meets Saint Germain,
Yeah.
right, who fought to prevent Dracula from coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to double cross them all to bring Dracula back
Oh
for
yeah.
love.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I like how they built this into the story. It's, we didn't know enough about Saint Germain in the uh last season to have the honest foundation that we believed he was a good guy character. And now that we know his
Yeah.
motivations, it makes sense that he would turn against the world in favor of his lost love. So,
Well, dude, that's typical, right? Everybody turns for love.
but these two episodes, I mean, really, it brought up the pace. We start to see all the different factions that are at play right now, and then hell, we have 6 episodes to see how they all clash and what sort of comes of it. So I imagine that we're gonna see immediately a jump forward in the armies that Hector creates for Carmilla for her, attempt at world domination. We should see more of this storyline in Targo Vista with Sypha and Trevor. It's
To
gonna
bring it
be
back, dude, I think we have to figure out. Remember, he puts the stone in his dagger.
yes, and it
So
does activate a little
it
magic.
activates something, and he hides it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm super curious to see what that's going to be about. We're going to see more about them.
You were saying
I,
that you wanted a new weapon. This might be the new weapon.
Exactly. So, but I hope it's a cool weapon. I hope it transforms into something amazing.
Maybe
Not
he
just a
plays the
glowing
dragon
knife.
flute.
The dragon
and
flute,
a Megazord rises from the water.
Don't threaten me with a good time. But I'm super interested to see that. I really think Sypha's going to get new powers.
Mm-hmm.
I do, but I'm curious to see what the major death is going to be. Someone important is going to die. Usually happens in every big series. I thought I knew who it was going to be. Now I'm not sure.
I would still probably lean towards Alucard being the character, but we'll see.
I don't think so. I think Alucard's going to survive. I think it's going to be Trevor or Sypha. But Morana and Striga are going to be 2 main characters that they're going to try to make us have emotions for, because they really only care about each other because they're so in love with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she says. Hey, get in the box.
Yeah.
right? Like, listen, that thing's impenetrable. Get in the box because you can't fight. I'm gonna do the fighting. Get in the
And
box.
their whole reason for why they're questioning following Carmilla is because they know
It'll
that their
separate the two.
roles will keep them separated. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all they care about. So I think they're gonna develop those characters to pull on your heartstrings a little bit for the audience. So one of them could be a major one that dies. I think Isaac's gonna survive. Hector will be fine. Because me and you like Isaac a lot, but I don't have any attachment to Isaac.
No,
I
and
just think he's a super cool character, and
yeah.
I can't wait to see him wreck people. I think I just want to see Hector's army versus Isaac's army. Let's go at it. Come on.
I agree. He's a character that I find fascinating, but if to be honest, him finding that happy ending at the end, I really don't care.
I don't think it's going to happen at all.
I'm
I think he's going to die at the end, but he's going to die at his own volition.
I'm more concerned with how they conclude the stories of our heroes, Sypha, Trevor, and Alucard. So
it
we'll
might be
see.
what you said, dude. It might be what you said that Trevor goes out, but Sypha's pregnant with another Belmont.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, like we
he
talked
is the
about.
last of the Belmont, so that could go out that way.
Perhaps.
Yeah, but I'm still we don't know enough about Saint Germain because apparently he did alchemy like we talked about, but he kind of let it go by the wayside. He was a loose follower, and now he's gonna be a strict follower. And we don't know anything about the
No.
girl other than what she looks like now, and that was a love interest, and she's tall.
And that she's a warrior.
Yeah. So I'm super curious to see who she actually is.
I want to see
major
that.
role she's got to play.
I want to see some more Nightmare Striga action.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm really excited going into the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So the next episode, we're gonna have episodes 5 and 6 in review, part 3 of our 5-part review. But this so far has me hooked, man. I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, I'm like looking forward to watching the next two. And dude, it's super hard to not watch them right after another.
I know.
They leave you on those hooks, man. They leave you on those hooks. I'm like, oh,
it's absolutely a very bingeable show. You're correct.
Oh yeah, 100% bingeable.
All right. Well, that wraps up for this episode, for the reviews of episode 3 and 4. So thank you guys for tuning in, and catch us back for the next installment leading all the way up to the series finale. I'm kind of sad that they're announcing this as the series finale. I mean, ultimately, we talked about it in the last episode. We'll see. If it makes enough money, they have enough reason to bring it back with, the next Belmont character and whatever.
And it's the dead, man. Everybody can come back.
Exactly.
Dead,
and characters like Alucard are technically immortal, so they could totally be in another series. Who knows? But yeah, very cool. All right, Chris, thank you for joining me.
All right, man. It was my pleasure.
All right, guys, and make sure to comment below, like, and subscribe. Thank you.